Welcome to your study plan for days 1 and 2. Let's dive into what you'll be covering over these 2 days. On day 1, you'll be focusing on chapters 1 and 3. For chapter 1, you'll start with a worksheet that includes answers, then move on to the most important questions, and finally, a self-assessment test. After that, for chapter 3, you'll follow the same structure. A worksheet with answers, the most important questions, and a self-assessment test. Now, on day 2, you'll shift your attention to chapters 2 and 4. For chapter 2, begin with a worksheet that has the answers provided, proceed to the most important questions, and complete it with a self-assessment test. Then, for chapter 4, you'll again follow the same pattern, a worksheet with answers, the most important questions, and a self-assessment test. Moving on to days 3 and 4, we'll continue our structured approach to ensure you cover all essential material efficiently. Stay tuned for the detailed breakdown of these days. Day 3 is all about diving into chapters 5 and 7. For chapter 5, you'll start with a worksheet that includes answers. Then, you'll move on to the most important questions. Finally, you'll wrap up with a self-assessment test. Next, for chapter 7, you'll follow the same structure. A worksheet with answers, then the most important questions, and finally, a self-assessment test. On day 4, we'll be covering chapters 6 and 10. For chapter 6, begin with a worksheet that has answers, then tackle the most important questions, and finish with a self-assessment test. For chapter 10, you'll repeat the process. Start with a worksheet with answers, go through the most important questions, and complete a self-assessment test. Now let's move on to days 5 and 6. On day 5, you will... Alright, let's dive into day 5. Today we'll be covering chapters 8 and 9. For chapter 8, you'll start with a worksheet that includes answers. After that, focus on the most important questions and then take a self-assessment test. Next, for chapter 9, you'll follow the same structure. A worksheet with answers, the most important questions, and a self-assessment test. Moving on to day 6, we will be covering chapters 11 and 12. For chapter 11, begin with a worksheet that includes answers. Then, move on to the most important questions and finish with a self-assessment test. For chapter 12, repeat the process. A worksheet with answers, the most important questions, and a self-assessment test. Now let's talk about day 7. Today, we'll be covering chapters 13 and 14. For chapter 13, start with a worksheet that includes answers. Then, go through the most important questions and end with a self-assessment test. For chapter 14, you'll do the same. A worksheet with answers, the most important questions, and a self-assessment test. If you have some extra time, you may want to check out CBSE past year question papers and marking schemes. This can provide additional practice and insights. Finally, let's go over days 8, 9, and 10. These days are dedicated to sample papers. For the standard level, allocate time each day for 2 sample papers, and then spend the remaining time revising important subtopics. You'll have practice papers 1 through 7, each with solutions. Some of these papers are credited to different KVS regions, and practice paper 7 is credited to the DOE, Delhi government. For the basic level, the structure is the same. Allocate time each day for 2 sample papers, and then revise important subtopics. Again, you'll have practice papers 1 through 7 with solutions credited similarly. Remember, there's no need to solve every single question provided. Instead, look at each question, think about the formula and method required, and then refer to the solution. This approach ensures that a variety of questions and solving methods stay fresh in your mind before the final examination. If you have any doubts or concerns, feel free to contact us through email. Remember, this exam is not the final destination, and your well-being is crucial. Stay healthy, stay safe, and don't lose hope. Sharing is caring.